July of 2021, I had a tweet go viral that said, a podcast where parents explain what their adult children do for a living. And it went mega viral, like 120 something thousand people liked it. And it really resonated with people. To this day, it still gets screenshot and posted on Instagram on all those big meme accounts. And people comment, and everybody has a story for it. Everybody has a thought when it comes to what their parents think they do for a living. So I would make that podcast.
I'm Colin Gray from the podcast host, as always, joined by Jacob too. And this week, we've got Arielle. Hi, Arielle.
Hey, how's it going?
So Arielle, if you're listening out there, I'm sure you know who Arielle is. Arielle Nissenblatt. Arielle is an epic creator. What's kind of top line of your other podcasting activities as well?
Yeah, big hobby person, big podcast hobby person. My main thing is that I run a podcast recommendation newsletter called EarBuds. And I love it. I've been doing it for 7 years and 2 days.
How did you get started creating? When did you start creating? What was like your first sort of job or hobby where you maybe thought of yourself as a creator?
I did not think of myself as a creator at the time when I started my newsletter, but now I know a lot of newsletter writers consider themselves creators. So I started EarBuds Podcast Collective in 2017. And I started it just on Gmail, and it was ugly and it was inefficient. And I think that it was not what it could have been. I know that. And I did not think of myself as a creator at the time. I just thought of myself maybe as a community builder, maybe as an ideas person. But it took me a while to actually say I am a creator. And then even in 2019, I started the podcast that goes along with EarBuds Podcast Collective, which is called Feedback with EarBuds. Even then, I still wouldn't necessarily consider myself a creator because it was just sort of, I don't know, the term maybe seems self-indulgent to me. But then I started a podcast in 2020 with my friend, like right when the pandemic started. We were like, we're going to make a podcast. And that's when I was like, I guess we're creators now. But I don't know. I still, even to this day, I chafe at the name of, I chafe at being called a creator. And it could be because I work full time for software companies. I've been working at Squadcast for 3 years, and then recently Descript acquired Squadcast. So I think my identity is firmly rooted in the fact that I'm a full-time job girly, and I love software, and I love software that empowers other creators. So maybe that's why I chafe at it, is because like I ultimately see myself as somebody who empowers other creators to create. But yes, I do put out a lot of content. I put out a daily podcast. I put out a weekly podcast. I put out a newsletter every week. I put out another newsletter every 2 weeks or so. So that's a lot of creating. I just still don't consider myself a creator for some reason. But it's all semantics. It's all words.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny how we react to words, isn't it? There's like, in our world, it's entrepreneur, that word. I hate that word because like so many people kind of use it in bad ways. And it's just... I heard
somebody called me a portfolio entrepreneur, which I liked because I forget who, and I wish I could credit them, but they were like, you do a lot of things that all sort of contribute to this idea that you are a person in the podcast space, and that is building your portfolio. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm a portfolio entrepreneur. So I'll go with that.
Cool. Yeah. What are your systems? You said you put out so much stuff. How do you manage it all? Like I'd love to hear a bit more about the process, like the actual systems you have behind getting
there is no
stuff
system.
out every single week.
Thank you so much for thinking there's a system. No, I'm extremely inefficient. I think that I've been saying this on podcasts for years. I need help. I need somebody to watch me for a day or for a week and be like, here's where you are losing time. Here is how you could be better at doing what you do. I use Duckbill to help organize like the things in my life that need organizing. And then from there, that allows me to do the day-to-day. So for organization purposes, I do a lot of, I use the reminders app on my phone. So I use that for everything, every little thing. I use Siri and I tell Siri to remind me to do something at a specific time. I use a lot of mark as unread, whether it's for Slack or for Gmail, or for anything that you can mark as unread. That's how I know that it is still left to do.
Isn't it really frustrating that like text messages are the only thing that don't let you do that?
You can do that now on iMessage. Yeah. I know.
Okay,
huge. All you have to do is swipe it. Thank God, because I was losing friends.
Yeah,
that was bad. So a lot of marking is unread. This seems like such a simple system, but that's how I know that something has not been done.
Yeah.
I also use the tasks manager on Gmail in order to write things for myself, and I give as much detail and dates as possible. For work, we use Notion. So Notion has been really helpful. I'm learning about some of the AI integrations there. We also use Linear. So also learning about that as a project management software. I'm relatively familiar with Airtable, but I don't use it for any of my personal projects. And then other than that, I do not feel like I am somebody that you should be asking for advice on this. Not that you're asking for advice, but truly, I need help.
Where do you get the energy though to keep because the amount of stuff that you're putting out is insane, and to have no you're not waking up at 5 a.m. and doing a cold plunge by the sounds of it. Like how do you keep going?
No, I wish though.
So much.
I would do that. I love it. I think the podcast world, the audio world, audio creators, video creators are there's so much out there, and the only piece that I think about strategy-wise is at least once a week I try to share a resource that I think is useful for folks who are creating, whether it's audio or video or both. Other than that, everything that I post on social media is fly by the seat of my pants. It's, hope for the best. This is helpful for me, so hopefully it'll be helpful for you. I guess the only other thing I'd add to that is I see myself as an anti-gatekeeper, I guess a gate opener. I just think if I know something, you should probably know it too. So I try to share that. So those two principles generally inform how I post and share, and then how I write in my newsletters, if my newsletters are going to have a little bit more to them than just podcast recommendations. So that's how I see myself.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. It's kind of, I think that always comes through in your work.
Good.
Everything you put out, like your newsletter, your social media, everything at all. Because I think it's why I resonated with it when I first came across your stuff. Because I feel, we've always just written everything and recorded everything and putting it out into the world, and you hope something comes back. And luckily, things have over the years. And it's just a nice way to exist, I think.
Yeah.
On that note, though, the thing that creators often struggle with, makers, content marketers, whatever you want to call it, is actually being able to pay the bills from that stuff. Do you monetize your other content? Do you earn from it at all? Your earbuds and the like? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I do. Earbuds, I started running ads on in 2018, I want to say. And, at the start, it wasn't necessarily a fully systematized endeavor. I didn't have a page where you could go to check out my ad options. It was really people reaching out and saying, can I advertise in this newsletter? And I was like, yeah, sure. Here's how much it should cost. I had no idea. So over time, I figured that out. I use a system now called Passion Fruit, F-R-O-O-T. And it allows me to have a page where you can check out all my advertising options, what you'll get from that. You can even send in the assets there, so I don't have to do too much back and forth with you, because I was doing that for a really long time. People would go to EarBudsPodcastCollective.org, scroll down, they would see advertising options, they would see what an ad in this section of the newsletter entailed, and then they could click on buy this ad, and that would take them to an email, and then they would have to say, I would like to buy this ad, and then I would say, great, when would you like it to run? So that was a lot of manual back and forth. Passion Fruit allows you to do all of that within their system. So I started using that around a year ago, and that's been really, really helpful. So that now the newsletter is monetized to the point that I am not losing money on MailChimp, and sometimes I'm even in the positive month over month, depending on, I don't do any outbound marketing in order
Yeah.
to sell ads. Everything that I have in the newsletter has come to me. I don't have time to do outbound marketing. I have a full-time job, so thankfully I have that flexibility. I have that, I'm able to make that work. Trailer Park, the podcast Trailer Podcast, is one of my weekly podcasts. It is a podcast about podcast trailers. That one is monetized in the sense that we have advertisers who, want shout outs on our show. So right now we're sponsored by OSHA, which is a podcast hosting platform. And we are sponsored by FanList, which allows us to have a fan page for our podcast. So people can call in, people can leave us tips, people can just interact with us on fanlist.com/trailerpark. And then I have another podcast, a daily podcast called Daily Tips that may or may not help you with Arielle and Ned. And that one is monetized through our hosting provider's dynamic insertion ad platform.
Yeah, perfect.
I love the name of that one.
That's brilliant. There's so many things in there. Passion fruit. This might be the
That's
answer
cool, right?
to a few questions that I've had in the last little
good.
while, actually. Yeah, totally. Thanks for bringing this up. We run a few newsletters ourselves. We've got Podcast Pointers. We've got Fiction Podcast Weekly. We've got Podcast Perspectives, and they're all kind of
I get all of them.
Oh, cool. No, good. But they're hard to. It's hard to manage, isn't it?
Yeah,
the
it's too
sponsorship side
much.
of things. It's so it's so many logistics go into it, from the dates that you're running them to the prices, all that kind of stuff. So this looks really cool.
If you had unlimited time and money, what would be one project that is sat on your shelf that you would love to do?
I have an answer for this right off the bat. In July of 2021, I had a tweet go viral that said, a podcast where parents explain what their adult children do for a living. And it went mega viral. Like 120 something thousand people liked it. And it really resonated with people. To this day, it still gets screenshot and posted on Instagram on all those big meme accounts. And people comment, and everybody has a story for it. Everybody has a thought when it comes to what their parents think they do for a living. So I would make that podcast. I would do it right. I would, source stories from all around the world. I would get really great music. I would get funders. I would make it happen if I had all the time in the world, all the money in the world.
Yeah.
It would be a great show. I mean, you could see from the reaction how good it would be.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was amazing. All right, Arielle, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on. Some great tools, resources, all sorts of stuff in there. Where would you say the best place is? Would you get them to go and sign up for EarBuds? Is that the best place to send them?
I would love for them to sign up for EarBuds, but that's probably not the best direct line to me. I think the best direct line to me, let's do Threads, because Twitter is fine at this point. I'm still posting on Twitter, I am, but trying to build up Threads as well. I'm Arielle this and that on Threads, and Ari this and that on Twitter. I should probably consolidate that, but that's where we're at.
You're the person that knows social media best of anyone I know. So is this you advocating a move?
I like Threads.
The big move.
Yeah, I like Threads. I think right now it is, like I said, filled with garbage advice for creators. I toyed around with making a fake. Do you know what a finsta is?
A finsta? No.
Yeah, finsta. It stands for fake Instagram. So this would be more of a Freds, a fake Threads. And it would be me just quote tweeting shitty creator advice and being like, here's why this is wrong. So I thought about doing that. So if there is an account that pops up and that is the premise of it, that would be me.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Or somebody's going to do it now and then blame it on you when
That's
all
fine.
the shit hits. Nice. Okay, cool. I need to go and check it out again.
The podcast and creator world on Threads is definitely picking up.
Good. Cool.
Great. Yeah. Okay, we'll go and check it out. All right. Thanks again, Arielle. Thanks, Jacob. Thanks to you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next time.